YouTube, what's going on, guys? Icy here, and today I have another review for you. We're going to be talking about the Razer Wolverine V3 Tournament Edition 8K polling PC. Yes, that's the full name of the controller. Today I wanted to get another review out before Black Ops 7 comes out. That way, in case anyone is in the market to try and purchase a controller, they can make a justified or an informed decision. Now, a couple days ago, I actually reviewed the G7 Pro. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out. I'll have it linked in the description. But in that review, I mentioned that it is one of my favorite controllers. And I wanted to mention early on in this video that as of right now, this Wolverine V3 is actually currently my favorite controller. And there's a few key reasons why, and I want to make it very clear that it is specifically this 8K version. Now, there is an Xbox version, which is certified from Xbox. The reason why I don't necessarily like that one, because I actually do have it, is this guy right here. As you can see from the videos playing in the background, one of the main differences between the two is that actual Xbox icon right there, and that's how you can kind of differentiate between the two. Now, again, you got to remember, most of these reviews are coming from the aspect of competitive gameplay. And for most controllers, my outlook on them is how good are the sticks. Now, I'll be honest, I have a good amount of controllers like this Scuff right here. I believe this is the Scuff Valor Pro. And I'll be honest, I don't necessarily use it all too much. One of the main reasons why is because there are caked in dead zones into this controller, and I can go more into depth of that, or what that entirely means, in a later video. I might be thinking, why should I trust your opinion on the subject matter of controllers? And I can give you a few reasons why. One of the main reasons is because I'm iridescent in Call of Duty, and I pretty much strictly play Call of Duty, but that doesn't mean I don't dive into other FPS games like Battlefield, Apex, Rainbow Six Siege, Arc Raiders. I mentioned Arc Raiders because I actually do play that game on controller, and I feel like the controls are pretty good. And my favorite reason of all is that I do shoot straight. Now, I wanted to transition into the actual Razer website to kind of showcase this controller. So as you can see at the top here, we have the Razer Wolverine V3 Tournament 8K PC. Yes, that the name is crazy, but we move. So there are two versions, and I'll throw out the stat sheet here really quick between the two. You can pause it and take a look. But as you can see, the main difference between the two, and here's the PC and here's the tournament, is going to be, the tournament is going to be way cheaper. And the main difference is it's going to actually weigh a little bit less, because I believe they take out the rumble motors. And as well, you have the Razer Mega Tactile PBT action buttons versus the Mega Tactile action buttons. Now, the difference between that, I don't actually have the wireless version, but it's just going to be their like mouse click buttons. Anyway, so we'll just kind of casually scroll through this. There really isn't that much information about this controller. You have for the Pro, they have the really cool graphic going on here. This does have TMR thumbstick with two swappable caps, and I'll showcase that in the next section. We have a taller and a smaller domed, Razer's lightest wired esports controller, and I will say it is incredibly light. I can attest to that. If you look back at the specs, it is very, very lightweight. And then, as most pro controllers do, you have remappable buttons. The reason why I really like this one in comparison to the G7 from a few days ago is that it has 6 remappable buttons. Now, the reason for the 2 top buttons that they explain is that it's for claw grip users. Now, I don't really play claw, and I still utilize the top 2 buttons. So I use all 6. I use the back 4 for the main face buttons, you know, A, B, X, Y, and then I use the top 2 specifically for either, it really depends on the game. Like for Call of Duty, I will use it for talking in game and calling in streaks. But realistically, you can remap it to whatever you want it to be. Again, like most pro controllers, you have the instant trigger pull versus the long trigger pull, and then you have these mecha tactile buttons, an 8-way floating D-pad. It's basically the same stuff. And then here's the customization, and I will go into that after I show you what's in the box. All right, so here is the controller. First, you open up the box that reveals the other box that has the real controller in it. Here is the box. You have all the Razer cool logo and the Razer design on it. Go ahead and you flip this around, open up this little flap, and it should reveal the goodies inside. So here's the controller itself. Again, this is the 8K polling Razer controller. There it is in all of its glory. There also, once I get my ugly ass hand out of the way, is the 2 additional sticks that you get with it. So these sticks, as I'll show here in a moment, is the short, or excuse me, that is actually the long to concave. And here is the short domed one that I typically put on my left thumbstick, and the long one would obviously go on your right side. And last but not least, you open up the box a little bit more and it reveals the 2-meter, I believe, braided cable. Obviously, the USB-A plugs into your computer and the USB-C plugs into your roller. All right. With that being said, let's hop into the customization. All right, so here we are in Razer Synapse. I believe that's how you say it. This is going to be the actual software that you utilize to change the buttons. Now, I'm going to kind of go from the beginning. So here I have the controller. I will go ahead and plug it in now. And basically, all you need to do is just let it load up for a second. And once it loads, you'll see that the controller actually pops up on the screen. You'll just click into it and you'll be taken to this tab individually. So we'll kind of go from front to back, and then I will show you the settings that I use for Call of Duty, although it's kind of giving it away, giving that you can see which one I use. Basically, you have your different profiles here, and you can swap those by hitting the, some people call it the share button, bro. I'm going to just call it the circle button. The circle button plus A, circle button plus B, X, and Y. That will allow you to change your profiles. And then you can actually change it to have onboard profiles as well. And it's actually stored physically on the device. And then right next to it, you'll have this little icon here. You can link specific games to your controller. And as you can see, you can link, for at least the games that I have on my device, you can actually link these. And I think it's more for adding RGB effects, but this doesn't have RGB effects. Here you have the wired polling rate. Now, don't let it deceive you. This controller does not go wireless. So you will always have a wired polling rate, but it goes from 250. Don't ever use that. 1,000, go ahead and use that. 2,000, even better. 4,000, even better. 8,000, even better. Now, as you can see, there's a little disclaimer here that says higher polling rates will result in reduced battery life. Doesn't matter. And a higher CPU usage. Now, don't let that scare you. It does use a little bit higher CPU usage, but if you have anything recent from like 2016 upward, like if you have a 2017 CPU, do not worry about this disclaimer. Nothing's going to happen. And I even wanted to kind of show you, there was like a little thing that said get more information. And to be fair, this is what Razer says. For CPU bound cases, which is what controls, you know, the flow of data between the computer and the controller, the computer might lack the resources needed to process 8,000 reports a second. If you're experiencing any issues, try to unplug/replug your device. Would it be nice for them to give you a list of like what CPUs are recommended? Sure. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal enough to be concerned. If for some reason you are having problems running the 8K polling on your device, just go down to 2,000 or 4. Here you have the D-pad directions. You have 4-way and 8-way movement. Basically, I would say use 8-way for fighting games. I believe that's what you would want to use. And then 4-way would be like for Call of Duty, things of that nature. I keep it at 8-way because I've never specifically had any issues using it 8-way on any titles that I've used. I've never had any accidental inputs. And then next over here, you have the dead zone sensitivity tab. This shows you the dead zones that you have for each individual stick. As you can see on the left-hand side, I believe stock, it comes at 10, but crank that thing to 0. You don't want dead zones, bro. And then you have the sensitivity clutch. As you can see, it literally said assign now. I will never ever assign this. Basically what happens is, I believe it's once you like use the left or right trigger, it will purposefully slow down your movement or your aiming stick, which again, it just changed the ADS down sight speed in the game. Don't change it on your controller. I really don't know the purpose of it. In terms of like in competitively, I don't understand the purpose of why you would ever need to use that. Here you have the circularity mode. Now, the only concern that I do have with the controller, even though I say that it is currently my favorite, is this circularity mode. So from the G7 review, or if you've never seen a review, or if you've never seen a controller that can do between standard and circular, basically standard is going to be the raw input. Basically, because I can't visually show you through the Razer app, I'll pull up a clip here of my G7 review, and I will show you that basically standard is going to be the same thing as raw, and circular is going to be the same on both. Now, as you can see in this clip, the circular is more of, well, a circle, and it's not going to have any pronounced outer bounds. Now, when you go to raw, you'll see that that circle kind of expands almost ovularly. I don't think that's a real word, but we're going to go with it. And you can get more tracking that way through the raw or standard input. Now, typically, coming back to the Razer application, I typically like having standard or raw on my right stick and circular on my left stick. I feel like having the more, I guess, defined circle helps more with movement rather than aiming. I feel like circular mode messes up my aiming. I don't know if anybody else has that same feeling, but to me it does. And then you have here prevent double dead zones. I have that turned off, I believe, and feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but the purpose of preventing double dead zones is if you actually can't change the dead zones in the game. And then so if you were to have this on, it would utilize the dead zones that you have in this application and not the one in game. So like I don't recall a game in recent years that can't let you change the dead zones, but I believe that's when you would use this prevent double dead zone. And then before getting kind of into the juicy part of changing all of your back buttons in the top two, as you can see here, you can test the performance of your sticks, and basically this will show you like if they need to be recalibrated, because essentially you can see there's another dot here. So like for instance, if this was way over here, you would know that you would probably need to recalibrate your left stick, and then you can choose left or right stick and you can calibrate that here. So let's head on back to customize, and we will go into, let's just click on M3. So as you can see, this is going to be the same for any of these buttons. So you have the M1, M2, M3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. So basically you will go here to keyboard. You can literally do, again, just like in most modern softwares, you can actually add the function or whatever you want from a keyboard. So you have all the F1s through F24. You have numpad here. You have navigation here, print screen. I guess if you wanted to take screenshots with your controller, I mean, literally you can do realistically anything that you could do on a keyboard and mouse with the application, mapping it to whatever slot you want to use. So for instance, let's say equal, I think in Fortnite is auto run. So you could set M1 to be auto run. And so that's going to be the software. I try to give a general overview. I don't want to bore you too much as well with everything that it can do. I've shown you everything that it can do, but I'm not going too far in depth just because I feel like you all can figure out just by looking at the on screen that you can add different symbols. You can add different, this is modifiers, control, right control. I feel like you guys are smart enough to understand that, so I'm not going too far in depth. If you would like me to go more in depth into the software of any controller, let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to make a video showcasing that more in depth. But now I want you guys in the game, and I want to show you the sauce that you get with this controller. Okay, so ironically enough, we are back in Battlefield. I wanted to show you this in the firing range of Call of Duty, but the game last review had the Xbox servers were down. And so now, because I pre-ordered Call of Duty Black Ops 7, it now has to update 315 gigs, and I don't want to wait that long. So I'm just going to come back, and again, you know me, you know the sauce. So look, I'm going to hold this up here. Okay? Again, what defines a competitive controller for me is how much movement you get when you barely hit the controller. So watch this. Look at this. I'm going to ever so slightly move this analog stick. Oh, do you see that? I'm going to do it again. Look at this. Look at that. I'm doing full circles and I'm barely moving the sticks. I don't even know if you can see me moving. I don't know because I can't see the camera because I'm looking at the screen, but it feels like I'm not even moving the stick hardly at all. And I'm doing circles ever so slightly. And that makes the controller, in my opinion. That alone. So not only can you make small movements like that accurately, the reason why it does this is because of the TMR sticks that are in the controller. And I want to make it very clear. In the Xbox version of this, it does not have TMR sticks. It has just regular Hall effect sticks, which again, in my opinion, you have too much movement for it to recognize the input. But with this 8K polling version, yeah, it detects it quite well. Again, I mean, you can just piece people up all day, every day. It is just so good. Now, I will say, I haven't been on this game in forever. I've been playing Arc Raider, so my aim is a little bit sloppy. As you can see, you know, if I was locked in just a little bit more, you know, you can see how snappy and responsive this is. But again, I haven't been on COD Battlefield. I've been playing Arc Raiders a lot. But as you can see, I mean, it is snappy pappy. I couldn't recommend this controller enough. Again, this is right now my favorite against the game, sir. However, I feel like there are cons and pros to both. I'm not going to go into that into this video because this is more about the 8K polling version. If you wanted to see a pro and con version between the GameSir G7 Pro and the Razer V3 Tournament 8K polling, 9K polling, 10K, 11, 12, 40, 50. If you wanted to see that video, let me know and I will let you know, because I will say there are some aspects of the G7 that I like more, and there are, I would say, more aspects that I like the 8K polling for. But again, I don't want to bore you guys with that now. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like the video, comment, let me know what you want to see next, and of course, subscribe. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video, maybe Black Ops 7, and maybe another review. Who knows? But excited to be there with you. Peace.